dear friends and net aspirants, welcome back to High Point again. So in this video, like you can see, we are going to learn about another comedy by William Shakespeare, which is known as the Comedy of Errors. So we will be always, like always, we'll be having an introductory section, then we'll move on to the character list, then we will have the detailed summary, then towards the final, as a conclusion, we will have we will discuss about the themes that are there in the play. So you can follow me in these three platforms. You can visit my website www.ipoint.in in order to have more comprehensible, simplified and well arranged study materials for UGC NET English Literature, English Language and Literature particularly. So if you want any help in regarding that, you can obviously call or WhatsApp me in this given number. And also I have a WhatsApp group particularly dedicated to English Language and Literature, in which I am sharing daily basis quiz questions and their answers, and also news and updates related to English Language and Literature, NTA, UGC, English Language and Literature, and also study cards. And also you can follow me in Instagram for more saveable materials. If you are familiar, you know that in Instagram you can save materials and you can have real quick and short contents related to UGC NET English Language and Literature in my Instagram ID. The ID is right here, Liji Maria 90 is my ID. You can go there. If you have an account, you can follow me there, and you can have a lot more facilities if you once followed and visit. And if you want any other help regarding our course or UGC NET English, you can actually call or contact me in through either of these platforms. So let's move on without wasting time. If you are ready with a paper and pen, then let's begin without wasting time. So these are some posters that I found in net in connection with the Comedy of Errors. See, Comedy of Errors, from this poster you can see that it's about twins. There are two pair of twins in this play, and that actually makes the whole kind of error that is there referred in the title. Now let's have an introduction to the play. It is one of Shakespeare's early plays. See, after after Two Gentlemen of Verona, we have as an important comedy, we have the Taming of the Shrew. Next, we have the Comedy of Errors, and it is one of his early plays. It is one of the shortest and one of his most farcical comedies. Okay. So that is another peculiarity. These are another peculiarity of this comedy by Shakespeare. It is one of the shortest and one of his most farcical comedies. Most part of humor derived from slapstick and mistaken identity. See, like I said, there are two twins, and these two twins in the childhood itself, when they are infants, they actually got departed with each other. They don't know that they exist somewhere else. An identical with them, the other twin exists somewhere else, and when they met with each other, they don't know that they are meeting the other person. And the mistaken identity plays a great role in order to produce humor in this play, and also from puns and wordplay. So the major humor and the entertainment derived in this comedy is from mistaken identity and also puns and wordplay. So here lies an important point that you have to remember, that mistaken identity is a major theme and major element of entertainment or major element of this play or comedy by William Shakespeare, which is titled as The Comedy of Errors. Along with The Tempest, Comedy of Errors is a play which observes the Aristotelian principle of unity of time. So you know that Aristotle actually put forwarded three types of unity that he said that is a must in every other play, especially in tragedies, but in every other play it is a must. So what are they? Unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. So that Shakespearean plays, usually it is criticized, they are criticized for not following unities, the three unities put forward by Aristotle. But especially The Tempest, it's a tragic comedy or comedy, we can say. The Tempest and Comedy of Errors, these two are the plays that actually somewhat observes the Aristotelian principle of unity of time. It actually happens more or less not exceeding 24 hours. So that is the major principle known as unity of time by Aristotle. So Shakespeare's The Tempest and Comedy of Errors observes this unity of time. After the staging of the play, the title of the play has entered the popular English lexicon as an idiom for an event or series of events made ridiculous by the number of errors that were made throughout. So after this play, the play is titled as The Comedy of Errors, and this title of the play entered into and this title became a popular phrase in English lexicon, English language, because this phrase became an idiom, which means that a series of events and or a particular event or a series of events that were made ridiculous by the number of errors that were made throughout. So a number of errors happened throughout and the series of events made ridiculous. So such a thing is referred with the title The Comedy of Errors, and this title entered into the popular English lexicon. So it is set in Greece. Another thing you have to remember about Comedy of Errors is that it is set in Greece. The setting is in Greece, and in Greece the city of Ephesus. So especially in Greece, the main actions are happening in the city of Ephesus. The play tells the story of two sets of identical twins. So like I said, see, the story tells the story of two sets. There are two pairs of identical twins who were accidentally separated at birth. So after their birth, when they were infants only, these two pairs, they were accidentally separated. So each one of the pairs stayed together while the other is somewhere else. Okay. Now, so that's all about the introductory part. Now let's move on to the characters of the play. Solinus. The first one is Solinus, Duke of Ephesus. So Ephesus is the city, Greece city, in which all the major actions are happening. Ephesus. Solinus is the Duke of Ephesus. Then Egon. Egon is a merchant of Syracuse, father of the Antipholus twins. So there are two pairs of twins, like I said. The first pair of twins is known as Antipholus twins. Okay. So Egon is Antipholus twins' father, who is a merchant of Syracuse. Emilia, Antipholus' lost mother, wife of Egon. Antipholus of Ephesus and Antipholus of Syracuse. So Antipholus twins are referred in this play like this: Antipholus of Ephesus, the one who is there in Ephesus, and Antipholus who is there in Syracuse. So it's like the twins are named the same way. See, the Antipholus twins means the two people, that is the identical twins, they are named as Antipholus. So in the play, it is they are referred as Antipholus of Ephesus, one who is there in Ephesus, and Antipholus of Syracuse, one who is there in Syracuse. The play is known as Syracuse. They are twin brothers and sons of Egon and Emilia. Then Dromio of Ephesus and Dromio of Syracuse. So Dromio, the two Dromios, they are the other pair of twins. There are two pairs of twins, right? One is Antipholus brothers, Antipholus twins, and Dromio twins. So Dromio of Ephesus, and he is with Antipholus of Ephesus, and Dromio of Syracuse, he is with Antipholus of Syracuse. Okay, the two brothers, bondmen, and they are bondmen, both of them are bondmen. And here these two people are the other identical twin, they are also named as the same. They both of them are named as Dromio. So that's why they are referred as Dromio of Ephesus, Dromio of Syracuse. So now also you feel a little bit confusion, right? So that confusion goes on throughout this play. Okay. Twin brothers, they are bondmen, and each serving his respective Antipholus. That's what I said. Dromio of Ephesus serves Antipholus of Ephesus, and Dromio of Syracuse serves Antipholus of Syracuse. So they are with them. Then Adriana. Adriana is wife of Antiphilus of Ephesus. So Antiphilus of Ephesus is married and his wife's name is Adriana. And Luciana. Luciana is Adriana's sister, love interest of Antiphilus of Cyrus. Here also they have some connection. Adriana's sister is Luciana and Luciana is love interest of Antiphilus of Syracuse. Then Nell Luz. Nell Luz, she's a kitchen wench or maid to Adriana and wife to Dromio of Ephesus. So Nell or Luz, so she is a maid to Adriana and Dromio's wife. Balthasar is a merchant. Then Angelo is goldsmith and courtesan. Another courtesan is there. Then first merchant, friend to Antiphilus of Syracuse, and second merchant to whom Angelo is in debt. So actually you have to remember at least the important characters. I know this is a bit confusing, but if you pay attention, I don't think this is a great confusion. But so that confusion itself of this identical twins and the confusion created by their names and also the errors that the characters are committing inside the play because of this identical twins and their names. So that is the whole thing happening here. So that's how the title is justified here within the play. Now let's have an act-wise summary of the play. I'm not giving the scene-wise summary because that only generates and even promote the confusion that generally going on inside the play. And if you consider the importance of the play as well, we cannot avoid this play, but still it is not that important if we consider other great comedies and tragedies by William Shakespeare, and also from the point of view of NTA UGC NET English. So let's have this act-wise summary. So Act 1, what is happening in Act 1? There is a law that forbids merchants from Syracuse to enter to the city Ephesus. So there is a law that forbids merchants from Syracuse to enter the city Ephesus. The elderly Syracusean trader Egan faces execution when he was found in the city. See, Egan, he is an elderly Syracusean merchant, and it is forbidden for Syracusean merchants to enter the city of Ephesus. So when Egan was found there in Ephesus, he faced execution. Okay, he has to pay 1,000 marks to get back his life. So in order to get back into his life, he has to pay a huge amount of money. He tells his sad story to Solinus. Solinus is Duke of Ephesus. So while he was there facing execution and he needed to pay a huge sum of money to have his life back, he tells his story to Solinus, Duke of Ephesus. While he was young, he married and had twin sons. So when he was, now he is old, and when he was young, he was married and he had twin sons. On the same day, a poor woman without a job also gave birth to twin boys, and he purchased these as slaves to his son. From here we can get an idea that how Dromio twins and Antiphilus twins, how they came together, twins. So you know, on the same day when whose Egan's twins were born, in the same day a poor woman without a job, a poor woman, she also gave birth to twin boys. So he purchased these twin boys as slaves, as playmates or slaves to his sons. Later the family made a sea voyage and was hit by a tempest. So when the twins were infants, the family made a sea voyage in that time, and the sea was turbulent, and their ship was hit by a tempest, and Egan lashed himself to the land with one son. So what happened there? They got separated. Egan, he was lashed himself into a land with one son, one Antiphilus son, and one slave. You know, he was landed in a land with one of his sons and one of the slave twins. and his wife took the other two infants too. So the wife also landed in some other lands or lashed in some other land with another son and another the other slave infant boy, and they got separated as they were rescued by boats separately, because they got separated because they were rescued separately and they don't know their whereabouts each other. The other one believed that the other person died. Okay, so they have no clue about the other person, their father or the other twins. And Egan never saw his wife and the children, those were with her. So Egan never get an address or idea about about the whereabouts of the other twin son that he has, or his wife or the other slave boy and all. Recently, his son Antipholus, now a grown man, with his slave Dromio, left Syracuse to find their brothers. So Antipholus with Egan, who is with Egan, see, the thing that you have to remember that his wife Egan and his wife, both of them named their twins and the slave boys the same names. That Egan also named his the son with him as Antipholus, and his wife also named the son as Antipholus and the slave boys as Dromio. Each of them do the same thing. Okay, so recently, now when Egan is telling the story to the Duke of the place, Antipholus, his son Antipholus and his slave servant Dromio, both of them left Syracuse to find their twin brothers. When Antipholus didn't return, Egan set out in search of him. So why he is in Syracuse? Even though merchants from Ephesus is forbidden there, even then why Egan is there in that place known as Syracuse? In that place known as Ephesus. Because when Egan could not find the whereabout of Antipholus, or when Antipholus is quite away from the home and he is not returning to the home, Egan set out in search of him. And the Duke is moved by this story and grants Egan one day to pay his fine. And the same day Antipholus arrives in Ephesus searching his brother. So in that same day, what happens? Antipholus also arrives. Antipholus of Syracuse arrives in Ephesus searching for his twin brother. He sent Dromio to deposit some money at the center, an inn. So the center is the name of an inn in which they have to. Immediately, Antipholus confronted with the identical Dromio of Ephesus. So what happens when Dromio of Syracuse departed from him? Antipholus immediately confronted with the identical Dromio of Ephesus and asked him of the deposit money, but he denied any of such money. So Antipholus took Dromio of Ephesus as Dromio of Syracuse. So he asked, so what did you do with the money that I gave to deposit in that inn? But this Dromio of Ephesus has no idea what is Antipholus is telling. Okay, so he denied any of such money. He didn't felt confused because Dromio of Ephesus is with Antipholus of Ephesus. So he took Antipholus of Syracuse as Antipholus of Ephesus and asked him for dinner to his home as Antipholus' wife is waiting for him. So Antipholus of Ephesus is there in Ephesus. So without any hesitation, Dromio of Ephesus asked, taking Antipholus as Antipholus of Ephesus, that you have to come for the dinner to your home because your wife is waiting. He invites him. So Antipholus thought that Dromio is making insubordinate jokes and beats him. So Antipholus could not figure out what is happening here, and he didn't get a satisfactory answer for the money that he has given to Dromio of Syracuse. So Antipholus thought that Dromio is making some kind of jokes out of him and he beats him. Okay. So there ends Act 1. So the confusion is rising and confusion is going to get thickened and even get serious as the play goes forward. Act second. So Dromio of Ephesus turns to his mistress Adriana and said that her husband refused to come back to his house and even pretended not to know her. So what happens? Dromio of Ephesus, he felt so confused why he got all these beatings from Antipholus of Ephesus. So after that, Dromio of Ephesus turns to his mistress known as Adriana. Okay, and mistress in the sense the house, the mistress of the house, Adriana, because and said he goes to Adriana. Adriana is Antipholus of Ephesus' wife, if you remember. So Adriana, he goes to Adriana and he said that her husband refused to come back to his house. So that's what exactly happened, right? Antipholus of he took Antipholus as Antipholus of Ephesus, but it was Antipholus of Syracuse that he doesn't know. So he went to Adriana and he said what happened, that her husband refused to come back to his house. Adriana concerned that her husband's eye is straying, taking this news as confirmation of her suspicions. So Adriana had many suspicions in her mind that see, her husband Antipholus of Ephesus is seeing some other person, some other woman, and he has another kind of love or mistress for himself. So Adriana is concerned about her husband and also confirmed this news, confirmed of her suspicions about her husband. Who is her husband? Antipholus of Ephesus. Then Antipholus of Cyprus meets Dromio of Syracuse, who denies making a joke about him having a wife and beats him. So what happens here? Another thing happens. See, after a certain point of time, Antipholus of Syracuse, he meets with Dromio of Syracuse and he asks about the things happened just before that, making a joke about that, telling about a wife that he doesn't have. He tells about it, but Dromio of Syracuse doesn't know anything about it. So he again beats him. And Adriana rushes to the scene and begs him not to leave her. So Adriana runs to Antipholus of Syracuse, taking him as Antipholus of Ephesus, and she begs him not to leave her for his mistress or the other woman that he is seeing. Sorry. The bewildered Syracusans attributed all these to witchcraft. So they don't know what is happening with them, why someone is coming and telling this. Dromio is coming and telling something, and the very next moment when he meets with him again, he denies everything. Another woman rushed towards them and begging him not to go and leave her. And all these things actually bewildered and surprised, and they felt weird about it, and they thought that all these things happening because of some witchcrafts. Antipholus and Dromio go off with the woman, the one to eat dinner and the other to keep the gate. So what happens when Adriana actually called them so much, begged them to come to their house, Antipholus and Dromio finally go with that woman, and Antipholus entered into the house in order to eat the dinner, and the other one means Dromio of Syracuse stayed and kept the gate. Now let's see what is happening in Act 3. Meantime, Antipholus of Ephesus returns home for dinner, and he is enraged to find that he is rudely refused entry to his own house by Dromio of Syracuse. So what happens now? Antipholus of Ephesus, the real Antipholus of Ephesus, comes to his own house to have his dinner. So he finds Dromio and takes him as Dromio of Ephesus, who is keeping the gate, and he is denying any entry for him into his own house, because that is not Dromio of Ephesus, but that is actually Dromio of Syracuse, and who is keeping the gate of the house, while his master Antipholus of Syracuse is inside the house with that woman having the dinner. And he was about to break the door and enter, but his friend persuades him not to make a scene, and he decided to dine with a courtesan. So what happens? Anyway, he is seeing a courtesan. So he is with one of his friends. So he was about to break the door and enter into the house, but his friend persuaded him to be calm, and they returned from the gate, and they went to dine with have their food with a courtesan. And Antipholus of Syracuse got attracted to Adriana's sister Luciana, and he revealed this to her. So what happens? Antipholus of Syracuse, he doesn't have an idea who is Adriana, who is Luciana and all. So Antipholus of Syracuse got attracted when he is in their home. Antipholus of Syracuse got attracted to Adriana's sister Luciana, and he revealed his attraction towards her. And she was pleased but worried about their moral implications. So she's actually a great morally good person. She got attracted also. Luciana also got attracted towards him, and she was pleased by hearing that Antipholus is attracted towards him. See, she doesn't know who is he. Antipholus of Syracuse, he or she only taking Antipholus as Antipholus of Ephesus only, his sister's husband. But she is worried about the moral implications of their relationship is going to be. After that, Romeo of Syracuse announces that he has discovered that he has a wife, Nell, a kitchen maid. So what happens? Romeo of Syracuse, he announces that he has discovered just now that he has a wife whose name is Nell. She is a kitchen maid. So actually, Nell is wife to Dromio of Ephesus, not Dromio of Syracuse, but he announced that he discovered that too. And they both jokes about the body of the maid by identifying the body parts with various countries. So when Dromio of Syracuse and Antipholus of Syracuse, then they are talking, they made joke about actually doing body shaming here. So they make jokes about the body of the maid by identifying the body parts with various countries. And they decided to go as soon as possible, and Romeo runs off to make travel plans. So they don't want to stay here anymore. So they want to run away from this place because they thought that all this happening because of witchcraft. So they wanted to make some travel plans. Now, Antipholus of Syracuse is then confronted by Angelo of Ephesus, a goldsmith, who claimed that he ordered a chain from him. So Antipholus of Syracuse, even though they tried to depart, they are confronting more and more things that is related to Antipholus of Ephesus. So Antipholus of Ephesus now confronted with Angelo of Ephesus, who is a goldsmith, and Angelo of Ephesus says that Antipholus has ordered a chain from him, which is he actually took, and Angelo actually took Antipholus of Syracuse as Antipholus of Ephesus, and he was forced to accept the chain. So Antipholus of Syracuse doesn't have any idea about who is this Angelo and what chain that he is referring to, but at last he needs to accept this chain, and Angelo says that he will return for payment. So now he doesn't want any payment, but later he will come back for the payment of the chain. There ends Act 3. Now let's see what is happening in Act 4. Antipholus of Ephesus dispatches Dromio to bring rope to beat his wife Adriana for locking him out. So Antipholus of Ephesus, he is enraged because that his wife admitted another person inside the house and kept him out while locking him out. So that's a mistake. I should put the word mistake inside the inverted commas. So that's a mistake that the wife committed. So Antipholus of Ephesus sends Dromio of Ephesus to bring a rope to beat his wife Adriana for locking him out in the dinner time. And Angelo comes and asks for the money for the chain, but Antipholus of Ephesus denied even seeing it and is promptly arrested. So what happened? Like Angelo said in the previous act that he will come back for the payment. So now Angelo comes back and asked for the money for the chain or the payment of the chain. But he initially met with Antipholus of Syracuse and gave the chain to him. But here he came back to Antipholus of Ephesus to have the payment of the chain. But he denied. Antipholus of Ephesus, he doesn't even see the chain. So he denied of seeing it or having it. So he got promptly arrested because he refused to pay the money. As he is being led away, Dromio of Syracuse arrives, whereupon Antipholus dispatches him back to Adriana's house to get money for his bail. So what happens? Dromio of Syracuse arrives there when Antipholus of Ephesus was arrested, and he was led to the judge or something. So Dromio of Syracuse comes there and he takes Dromio of Syracuse as Dromio of Ephesus, and he dispatches him to Adriana to have some money for his bail from her. So after the errand, Dromio of Syracuse mistakenly delivers the money to Antipholus of Syracuse. So here goes again the confusion continues and condense. So after the errand, Dromio of Syracuse, he was sent to Adriana for having some money for the bail of Antipholus of Ephesus. But it is actually Dromio of Syracuse doesn't know what is happening there. So Dromio of Syracuse mistakenly delivers the money to Antipholus of Syracuse. Okay, so the money again goes into the wrong hands or wrong place. The courtesan spies Antipholus wearing the gold chain and says he promised it to her in exchange for her ring. So what happens? The courtesan, she spies that Antipholus was wearing a gold chain, because actually Antipholus of Syracuse was wearing a gold chain, and he even said that he promised that chain to her in exchange for her ring. The Saracens deny and flee. That's how Act 4 ends here, and now Act 5. Dromio of Ephesus returns with the rope to the arrested Antipholus of Ephesus. So Dromio of Ephesus, he was sent to have a rope for his master in order to beat the mistress, right? So Dromio of Ephesus, he is unaware about the whole affair happened in between. Dromio of Ephesus returns with a rope to the arrested Antipholus of Ephesus. The courtesan comes to Adriana and tells that her husband is insane. So courtesan tells that something happened to your wife, he is insane. He tells, sometimes he admits something, sometimes he denies something. So she comes to her and tells that her husband is insane and he went mad. And Adriana Lysiana and the courtesan comes with a conjurer named Pinch, who tries to exorcise the Ephesians, and they were taken to Adriana's house. So what happens here again? See, Adriana Lysiana and courtesan, these two women are there, and they fetch some conjurer named Pinch, and they also felt that some witchcraft is going on. That is the impact of all these things, and that's why all these things are confusions are happening, all these errors are happening. So they brought the conjurer named Pinch in order to exorcise that witchcraft or the bad influence that the Ephesian people, Dromio and Antipholus, they're having, and they were taken to Adriana's house. The Syracusans enter with swords, and everyone runs off with fear, believing that they are Ephesians who have come for vengeance. So what happens? The Syracusans, they are so confused and bewildered and surprised what is happening. So they entered with the swords to everyone when these women want to fetch them to Adriana's house. And when they entered with swords, everyone runs off with fear and believed that all of them took Syracusans as Ephesians and who have come to vengeance, for their vengeance. And Adriana comes with henchmen who tries to bind the Syracusans. So Adriana actually comes with henchmen who tries to bind the Syracusans. Actually, she wanted to bind the Ephesians, by mistakenly she tries to bind the Syracusans. And they take sanctuary in a nearby priory, and the abbess comes with the other two twins. So what happens? They run away, the Saracens, they run away. They don't know what to do or what is happening with them around them. They are so confused, and everyone will be like that, right? They will go mad if something like this happens. So they take sanctuary. A nearby sanctuary was there, nearby priory was there, and the abbess comes with the other two twins. Abbess means the mistress of that place or nun-like person who comes with the other two twins, that the Ephesians. The two set of twins reunited. So when they saw the other two, Ephesian twins, then they got to know what is actually happening, because it's an example. All these are happening because of the mistaken identity, nothing else. The abbess reveals that she is Egan's wife, Emilia of Babylon. So now we got to know that abbess of that sanctuary or that priory, she is Egan's wife, the lost wife who was separated from Egan in that shipwreck, who is Emilia of Babylon. And the Duke pardons Egan. So after the whole affairs was over, the Duke came to know about it, and the Duke pardons Egan, and all exit into the abbey to celebrate reunification of the family. So the two twins got reunited, the family got reunited, so everybody exit to celebrate the reunion of the family. So that's how happily this story ends. So much confusion is going on. It is not that this memorizing this play is important, but you have to at least memorize about the some characteristics of this play, and some things are happening in this play, like mistaken identity. And also it is one of the earliest plays by Shakespeare, and it is one of the play that actually follows Aristotelian unity of time. So you have to memorize all those things. So yeah, that's all about this play, the Comedy of Errors. So I hope this was useful for you, and if you have some suggestion and queries and questions, please do that mention in the comment section. I'll be very glad to know your impressions about the video, and also mention what you mainly got out of this play, the main character's name, the some points that you have already mentioned in your paper. Do mention that in the comment section, so that the other students may have that points and read that points as well. And also don't forget to follow me in Instagram, and also message me in WhatsApp if you want to join the WhatsApp group, or you can go to the description box. There I have shared a link to join the WhatsApp group. If you want, you can join, and don't forget to visit my website www.highpoint.in in order to have a comprehensible simplified study materials in the form of audio lectures as well as PDF materials. And for you to practice, I have given plenty of practice set question papers, and also the whole set of previous question papers there, which you can attempt live in the website, and also know your mark instantly after submitting your responses. So go and visit it. So if you are interested, you can join it, and if you want to know anything further or any further help you want, you obviously can call or message or WhatsApp me in this number, or in my Instagram ID too, you can message me. So that's all about this video. Let me meet you in the next video, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe for this kind of literature related contents in the future, and also press the like button. And yeah, that's all about it. Meet you in the next video session. Until then, continue your study. Bye bye.